If you've ever been made fun of, insulted, had your things ruined, or even been beaten up, then you know firsthand what bullying is. Although, if you were the source of all these things, then you are also familiar with bullying from the other side. Bullying is when a person is subjected to violence, harassment, and humiliation by a group. The aim of the bullies is to create fear and subjugate the victim by frightening them and subjecting them to psychological and physical pressure. Bullying often occurs at school, and many of us have encountered it from different sides of the barricade. Imagine the situation. You move to a new school where there will be a new group of people, new teachers, and new friends. Everything is new and unfamiliar. It's simultaneously scary and intriguing, isn't it? Before you get to know everyone, of course, you worry and wonder how you're going to be received. You get to school and can't take your eyes off everything new. You go into class and notice all the pairs of eyes boring into you and evaluating you. Your anxiety rises, your body trembles, and you want to run away as fast as you can. But you give in and head determinedly to your desk. During recess, a group of kids come up to you and, with a hint of contempt, try to get you to tell them where you're from. As time goes on, you start hearing these same kids whispering about you behind your back and constantly mocking and ridiculing you. One day, you find that your school things have been strewn across the whole classroom and your notebook has been torn. Can you imagine? Awful, isn't it? Well, that's what bullying is. What is the reason for bullying? Why do kids act so cruelly? Here's the thing. Kids who first find themselves in a large group are making their first attempts to establish contact with one another, feeling out their boundaries, determining their position in relation to others, and still don't understand it all well what's good and what's bad, which things are inoffensive and which are unacceptable. Through bullying, a child is trying to assert themselves, hide their own complexes and insecurity. An attack is the best form of defense, as well as to draw attention to themselves, to be noticed by any means. It's not just that kids suffer from bullying, but adults too. Bullying in the workplace develops in several stages. The first stage is a period of serious tension in the group. There is a conflict of some kind or a general negative atmosphere within the group. Next, the search for a victim takes place in order to diffuse and ease that same tension. This is where aggression starts, passive or direct. Imagine that your managers or colleagues are constantly dissatisfied with you and your work. They pick on you and criticize you at every chance they get. Not everyone can cope with that kind of pressure. The next stage can provisionally be called the violence phase. The aggression that was there before becomes systematic and targeted at a specific employee, the victim. At the same time, there might not actually be any objective reasons for the bullying, but it becomes systematic. At the fourth stage, the victim is fully or partially isolated from all the corporate events and becomes a kind of outcast. They aren't invited to join parties or get togethers, aren't encouraged to work in any way, and aren't even noticed. The victim becomes helpless and lonely. The fifth and final stage, if nobody intervenes and stops the bullying, is that the victim, having lost all hope, more often than not resigns and looks for a new job. These stages can be transferred to a school bullying situation, where the whole story ends with a child moving to a different class or a new school. A legitimate question arises: how can we deal with bullying? Well, there are several universal rules. Listen and note them down. Firstly, evaluate your level of strength, whether you have enough resources to resist bullying or not. Who can you turn to for help? Who could support you? It's good when there are people in a group who will resist aggression together with you. If there aren't any people like this, think about who could help from the outside. Your psychologist, manager, teacher, or parent if we're talking about school. Secondly, learn to resist aggression and not to take bullying personally. People do this because they are trying to assert themselves or feel that they are stronger, and they are afraid of strong people. It isn't your fault. Remember that bullying is a disease of a particular group of people. Other people might not think that way and behave differently towards you. Thirdly, don't violate others' boundaries and don't allow them to violate yours. From simply calling you by your first name instead of your title, to raising their voice to you or discussing personal matters. In the case of school, don't allow yourself to be insulted, humiliated, or let your things be ruined. Put a stop to it right away, making it clear that you cannot be treated like that. Fourthly, if these things didn't help, speak to senior management, a teacher, or a psychologist. Anyone can end up in this situation, so don't blame yourself for it and don't be afraid to ask for help. Finally, if nothing at all helps, then you should consider changing your work or place of study after all. However upsetting this may be, it has to be done as your health and psychological well-being are at stake. It isn't worth putting up with bullying and doing nothing.